Hey y'all, so today is going to be almost like a part 2 to my last post. So there was some more stuff that I missed in that post. I'm so sorry, y'all. That God is pressing on my heart to put out now. So in my old post, I was talking about how so like a storm is coming, and how God is calling us to rule. Specifically, with the story with David, where God was calling David to rule and everything like that. So God told me, He put it on my heart. He revealed to me some stuff that I missed, that I took notes on. So I'm gonna just go based off the notes. So as far as so I was talking to God today, and God told me that so like when David was in rule, notice how the children of Israel didn't go through any slavery, any famine, anything like that. But a little while afterwards, those fears came to life, and they went through slavery. They went through like famine and everything. And God said that it was because of the children's disobedience that led to the famine, the slavery, and all their fears coming upon them. And I was asking God, so God, how come you didn't allow the children of Israel to suffer slavery when David was king, but allowed them to suffer sometime later? And God brought to mind the video that I posted in the past where I was procrastinating about moving, even though I was in the calling that God had me to be in the calling for. Just like the story with Paul, where Paul was very very with God at times. So God told him to go to Rome and preach at Rome, but he stayed in Jerusalem. And because he stayed at Jerusalem, people were able to target him and throw him into prison. And he was beaten very badly. He was still in the calling that God called him to do, but this was the thing that the enemy was scheming up. Specifically, it's the thing that the enemy was scheming up. And what allows the enemy's schemes to actually be plotted against the children is their disobedience, basically. So lack of obedience can cause delay. Instant obedience can cause things to happen that is according to God's will. But disobedience can also allow things to happen that is opposite of what God's will is for your life. So even though, God didn't plan that stuff to happen, it was never God's will. It was the disobedience that you allowed, that sometimes, that the children of Israel allowed, or that, people may allow to happen due to them, not being where God called them, or, warnings and they not taking warnings. And that could allow certain things to happen that isn't God. Because God is not the God who would just allow our fears to come, He won't allow us to go through what is called, harm like that. And basically, it's based off of what the enemy was scheming up for, and not Abba's will, because it's Abba's will to protect us from those things and not cause it to happen. And and then God brought up that He plans that for us to He plans to prosper us and to prosper us more abundantly. And then just back in the Bible days, so we are called to be little kings and queens, little Davids that are meant to rule in this time. And remember that in Abraham's time, where it was a physical time. So in Abraham's time, there was a physical law. There was a physical religion. It was just a physical time. So the Old Testament, Abraham's time, it's a reason why it was a time that we were meant to learn from it. It's no longer relevant. But when Jesus came, He didn't come to actually change the law, but to fulfill it in a more spiritual time, in a more relationship-based. So just like how God called David to rule and be king at that particular time, there was probably certain laws in place for that. But now God is giving all of us the authority to rule like baby Jesus is, just by our relationship with Him and our belief in Him. We are automatically His. We don't have to work to become known to Him. We're not strangers that's having to become clean anymore. He bought us with a price. We were bought with a price, and we belong to Him now. So that is basically it. So when you belong to Him, we have the same type of ownership, the same type of, the same type of authority now in the spirit to be little rulers, to be little Jesuses in the spirit, and also authority to rule in the now. It plays a part in the now, but, it's still a thing about Abraham's covenant, still a thing about the promises. It's just now it's open to many people instead of a certain few of the chosen people. Okay. And so that was what God was bringing upon me to talk to you guys about more, because I missed that in my old video, but God has brought that for me to talk about now. And so I believe that was it, everyone. I think that was all that God wanted me to talk about. So I pray that God blesses you, keeps you, and